there are 5 things to consider when brow mapping. One being the start and finish. So essentially that helps with the length of it, the width of the brow, the color of the brow product that you're using, and the arch of the brow. So to know where to end, you can follow your natural brow. However, you don't want it to come out of this line here, so no further than that. So where the nose and the outer corner of the eye typically meet diagonally. And then for the arch runs pretty much diagonal from the iris of the eye. Naturally, sometimes people have different arches. Some brows would be more straight, but an arch would be essentially at this degree angle. Now, a great way to build out a balanced brow is for that start. You typically want to, some people's brows may not necessarily meet right here, but you can find it from the bridge of the nose is a good indicator where to start. And you always want to follow this natural curve of the brow. Alright, remember that out of the 5, one of the things to consider is the color of the products that you are using. Now, we are not a fan of black because black looks really harsh. And I wanted to demonstrate color range on a more deeper skin tone so you can see that black is not always needed to create or build out a brow. Now, there are times that you can use black, but in this instance, we'll talk about where and why you would use black once we get the brow started filling in. So, we're going to go in with shade 5 of this brow pen, and I'm going to just go ahead and mark, relax your brow for me, mark where we're going, relax, there we go. Mark where we are going to start on this brow. Remember, we are going to want to follow here, and I'm just going to draw a line to show my start point. So now, if you see, the hair of the brow stops further back than where we were starting, but that is okay. We're here to create a balanced brow. So we are going to fill in this portion of the brow with hair-like strokes, and I'm going to use something that's a little deeper but not black, the Milani Weekend Brow in shade 140 Espresso, and create these hair-like strokes. And you want to be very intentional in those strokes. We're just going to go through and finish filling through the brow. I don't think I said that loud enough, but... Alright, now we're going to go in with 6. It's really important to understand color for deeper skin tone. There's a reason I don't want to go black because it's too harsh. This is a, like really deep dark gray, but more on the cool tone. But we're going to fill in the tail end of hers. And depending on how prominent I want the brow to look, I may go in at the very tail end of her brow to do a bit of hair-like strokes with black, because as we can see, she's a little sparser in this area, which is very common. But if we want it to, since we're working in a thinner area surface, turn your head slightly this way, this way, this way, this way. Since we're working in a slightly thinner area, we want it to still look like hair. So this would be the only time I would advise black, and it has to be hair-like strokes. Create a base for the brow on this side. now I'm gonna go in. Now that I have a backing with that color, we still need it to look like hair. Now I'm gonna go in with a little bit of black and create a few hair-like strokes within the brow. Right. So now the tail end of the brow is really defined and we have hair-like strokes. I'm going to show you a bonus of how to get this a little bit more crisp and defined. Clean up this brow to give it a, we're going to cut the bottom. We filled in where it's naturally at. So you would take a brush that is a flat end like this in a concealer that is close to the skin tone area around the eye, and you're gonna just go in and slightly, I like to say, kiss this area to clean it up to get very crisp. I've noticed that we still need to do a little filling here, so I'm just gonna go back in with the pen and create a few more hair-like strokes just to build this out in a this way. And if you wanted to not just clean up the bottom, but clean up the top because you had a mistake, you could go in with the same brush or a very similar brush with an edge like this and go on the top of the brow and take the product, the top, like a foundation color of some sort, but you want it to match your skin. At the top or help clean up any mistakes.
So, a quick recap to consider when mapping out your brows: the start point, which follows the bridge of the nose, the finishing point, which is the angle from where the nose and the outside of the eye meet, the width of the brow, arch, and color. Color makes a huge difference when building out your brow. Thank you so much for tuning in to this workshop.